as the men's mental health month. It's actually a time that is dedicated to raising awareness about the emotional, psychological, and social challenges that men face, often in silence. And that is what we're talking about this morning. Now, statistics around depression, substance abuse, loneliness, and suicide continue to highlight a very troubling reality. And the reality is that many men are suffering quietly. Yet, conversations about men's mental health often remains uncomfortable, misunderstood, or even overlooked altogether. And so today we want to create a safe and honest space for that conversation. We're asking a very simple but profound question. What is the real cost of being a man in today's society? And I'm joined this morning in studio by Stanislas Nyaku. He is a mental health advocate. And also I have over the phone lines Justice Jay Oklu is also a mental health advocate, and these are the two individuals that I'm having this conversation with. They are men, and so I'm sure they'll share their experiences as well. But they also engage a lot of men. I mean, they see cases and all of that, and so they can be able to speak for them, and that's why these are the two individuals we're having these conversations with. Let me start over the phone lines, and I come in studio. Justice, good morning. Hello, Justice. Hello. All right, so I can't seem to hear Justice. Let me come into you now. Stan, Charlie, how be everything cool?
Everything cool.
Oh, sorry.
You know, cool stuff. If we're cool.
Why did you talk so? Why are you saying that?
Oh, nah. Of course, that's the reality we have met, and so we've inherited it as well. Yeah, so we try to even show up, even if things are not looking as they have to be.
You're not sounding too loud for me. I think you're too relaxed.
Okay, it's a better.
All right, great. Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay, so I was saying that
Yeah.
the reality we have inherited is we have to show up despite the challenges we go through. So, of course, in Ghana, when you ask how are you, the obvious response is I am fine. And so, yeah, we did inside. It's possible.
But you are a mental health advocate. You shouldn't be inside like some of us.
That's the thing. So maybe the bypass some of us get has to do with some of this theoretical viewpoints we tend to familiarize ourselves with in the course of practice and learning. So we know that, okay, well, in as much as things are not the way they ought to be, there is the element of hope. And so when I say, well, we day inside, I'm standing on something, which is hope, hoping that, well, it will get better eventually. But until it gets there, we are still here, we are active. So, yeah.
I see, right. I'm told that Justice is over the phone lines now.
Okay.
Hello, Justice. Good morning.
Hi, Hamon. Good morning.
How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing very well by God's grace.
We thank
And
God.
hi to my brother Stan.
Stan, he says
I just up with you.
All right. Anyway, so let's get into the conversation proper. But you make very interesting things. I'm sure we'll touch on stuff like that very, very soon. Now, conversations around mental health, especially for men or men's mental health generally, are not very much pronounced around. I don't know whether it's just this part of the world. Yes, but statistics tell me that this part of the world is like that. I don't know whether about other parts. Why do you think that is actually what it is today, Stan? And you said that even if you know cool, say before cool, because and I think one of the reasons is because the issues around mental health, men's mental health, are not really discussed. Why do you think that's why do you think that's a case? Sorry.
Okay, so where we find ourselves, okay, in our part of the world, let me start from here and then I generalize. Men are taught in our socialization, when we are socializing men, I think the emotions available to the growing man is not as pronounced as that of a woman. So we are taught to, okay, so you can get angry. Angry is an emotion we know. We can be aggressive and all the hard emotions. That is what we grow up and learn to express. But when it comes to the ones that will show us some vulnerability in there, that is seen as a sign of weakness. So already the growing man is preview to a certain way of life. So we get to be strong, we get to be the hard kind. And when it comes to things that will show some vulnerability, we distance ourselves from that. Now, this would go a long way to define this environment we are seeing now. Because having conversations about mental health is seen as something that is for weak people, or it's a weak thing to do. So the growing man or the patriarchal society will not want to invest in such conversations. Because if men are having conversations about their downsides, the weaknesses they go through, the subtle challenges they are having, then it presupposes that, okay, this is a weak society and this is a conversation that weak people are having. So that is the notion surrounding the narrative. So if we can now have these conversations to the typical man, or the man from the older generation, he would say men have become weaker these days. That is why
exactly. So I was actually going to ask that is it because today we are too soft?
Okay. So I won't say we are too soft. I would say we are becoming more emotionally aware. We are becoming more wise.
Right.
Yeah. So it takes wisdom to notice the difference between strength and breaking down, like to differentiate between what you are holding on as strength and what is actually killing you. It will take wisdom to discern that. So if we have had this subtle issues, we've dealt with them in silence, and the statistics are not looking good. You mentioned anxiety, depression, substance use, and all those things are on the rise, especially amongst the male population. That tells us that there is something wrong fundamentally. So if you want to have conversations around that to curb it for the next generation, this is not a weak conversation. This is something that a wise person would endeavor into. So we are not weak. I think we are getting wiser. And it will go a long way to keep us alive longer. Yeah, and change the status quo.
I'm still trying to diagnose a problem, but I mean, you make very good points. Is it because men don't speak up, or society doesn't listen?
Wow. Wow. This is a good one.
Which?
Yeah. So men have not been given the space to speak up. So that is one. Again, we are talking about the bigger context, vulnerability, and what society is defining a man to be, and the fact that a man would not want to lose his identity in all of this. Yeah. So the man is already handicapped not to speak because of societal predispositions. You don't speak because when you speak, you begin to you are seen as weak and all those things. And also the issue of the speaking bit also has some challenges. Now, a man will speak, a man will be vulnerable, and then they use it against them. So, for example, you tell somebody something that is quite something on your heart, something that you are struggling with, and only to hear it used against you in a different conversation.
Right.
So now it breaks you up. You can't talk again because experience has shown that when I speak, I'm not going to be heard. Rather, what I say is going to be used against me. So now the two areas are now becoming compromised. Society says I should be strong. Now I try to go beyond society and try to find solutions like a normal human being, and it has been used against me. So now I shut down and I deal with everything on my own. That is where they feel like staying silent is now the sign of strength. And then they begin to do all manner of things that are maladaptive. Getting the substance, getting hooked on substances, getting firearms, getting the ropes. Now it's overwhelming and I can't take it anymore. Obviously, society has told me that I can't open up to anybody. Because when I opened up, this was the result I got. And now they say I should be a strong man. So I'll just mask it and end it all. Yeah.
That's sad. Anyway, but let me come to you, Justice. Now, Justice, on the same question, why do you think that conversations about men's mental health have, historically been neglected?
I remember a few months ago last year, I happened to have chanced upon a girls group. And in fact, the man was the one chairing the girls group. And he was having a conversation about the female side of the conversation, right? And one of the topics that came up was that why is it that men cheat, right? And then we were also having a conversations about the attitudes of men. So while I chanced on that conversation, they asked me, what is my idea about why men cheat and why men don't seem to respect relationships about women. Then I said, well, the other part of it is that we live in a society and in a world where attention is being given to the girl child at the expense of the young man, because they feel that the young man will naturally grow to become who he ought to be. But it looks like attention is being shifted towards women, and even if it's towards children, it's tilted towards women and the girl child or the girl children, and so men are not given the chance to grow, and men are not given the chance to be mentored to follow a certain path. It is assumed that, oh, men will learn by observation, but they forget that conversations or communications are also very important part of whatever relationship they are forming with these men. So, for example, the boy's relationship with his parent, the boy's relationship with his teachers, the boy's relationship with his friends. And most of the times, they feel that they should learn it by observation. And so they assume that once they are learning it by observation, they are surely going to get it. But we all process things differently. And so what one might be observing as good, another person might be observing as bad. And so I think that is where the gap is, where we have an assumption that men will surely learn naturally. Women are meant to be taught. But so that could be one of the gaps as to why they feel that men are able to grow the way they ought to grow. The other part of it also has to do with the belief systems of these men that are growing up. And these belief systems are actually in connection to the environment they find themselves in. Now, a young boy that grows up seeing his father treat his mother bad, although he might dislike what he's seeing his father do, in the long run, he might end up picking up on those behaviors. And the reason is simply because there is a side of the human mind which we actually call the unconscious part of the mind. And the psychologists have always said that the unconscious part of the mind is actually what has a greater influence on the individual's life, or on the boys or the young boy's life as he grows up. The issue about it is that the mind has actually housed the experiences of his father. The mind has housed the reactions of his mother to his father's behavior. And so it is only looking for the opportunity to express itself. And most of the times, some guys will say, oh, and once I've said I'm not going to do it, I will certainly not do that. But there is a part in them that makes it very easier for them to mirror those kind of behaviors, and which is the part of unforgiveness. So they think that not forgiving their father for treating their mother wrongly, or not forgiving a certain male figure for treating another person wrongly, is a yardstick through which they will actually escape it. But the unforgiveness and the bitterness and the offense actually makes it an easy platform for them to manifest that kind of behavior that they have seen a male figure, a father, or maybe someone they see as a big brother or a mentor portray, right? So that is also another aspect where men begin to mirror certain things that they are not supposed to be mirroring.
Yeah, right, Justice.
Yes, please.
Right. I think you make some very good points. Let's talk about. I mean, I wanted us to situate a conversation on the reason why people don't talk about mental health when it comes to men. But let's move a bit away from that. What are some of the pressures that people or young men, or not just young men, but men generally face today? What are the biggest pressures that you think that men face today? Justice.
Well, practically, one of the things I can mention is isolation. Men love to go silent on matters because they feel that they are designed to handle the issues on their own. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. So isolation is actually one of the key problems to one of the key I'm looking for the right word for that, but practically it's actually one of the key things that men actually go through when they begin to isolate as a result of the various things that they actually encounter and the various issues they actually face. They feel that they can be able to handle it alone. And isolation is actually different from solitude. Yes, isolation is entirely different from solitude. So someone will say, "Oh, but if I want to choose to go on a retreat to think about my life, to see how best I can handle my issues, is that not isolation?" The issue about it is that isolation makes us cut off from the world, and when that happens, we will find out that loneliness, anxiety becomes extreme, and when they prolong for a very long time, they begin to affect our physical health. On the other side of solitude, solitude is much more having a restorative effect on us, where the individual gives himself the opportunity to nurture some form of creativity, right? Where they give themselves an opportunity to bounce back, maybe from a broken relationship or from an issue that they might be dealing with. So that is one of the key things I just want to talk about,
Right,
which has to
right,
do with patient.
right.
The
Okay,
other part
let
of
me
it, the other part of okay,
let
I'm
me come
listening.
to Stan. Yeah, let me come to Stan
Right.
in studio as well. So Stan, what are some of the pressures you'd also mention?
Precious bargain men currently. Of course, a man is supposed to be a provider. Like generally, that's what we've been known to be. A man is meant to be a protector. So let me use the protector. Let me just make a quick joke about the protector thing. I think there are these videos that are circulating currently where, excuse me, you see a girl goes to find a fight. Then he comes quickly to the house. Daddy, 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 I'm in trouble. His boyfriend, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
This guy has questioned me or taken something from me. Then the guy follows up. Who is that person? Who is that person? Then he goes to see, and it's this big, muscular guy, and then they begin to panic and all those things. Yes. This is the reality most men are facing also. And this is bringing them a lot of anxiety because I have a certain burden of care to give, but sometimes my pocket is not matching it. Yes. So I'm supposed to be a protector, but it's not looking like I'm protecting. I'm supposed to be a provider, but it's not matching up. Recently, my brother was sharing with me his young family. The little girl was just one. He was just telling me, Charlie, the milk and the pampers. I was like, wow. So I asked, why is she not eating banku already? Right. Like, she's eating the banku, but she has to take milk. Right. So these things would drain you. These things would make you see reality ASAP. If you're not seeing it, you see it. And if care is not taken. So in his case, he is fortunate to have a caring wife. Like, he has a wife who understands the vibe. That is good. Good social support. But in the absence of that, you're on your own. And some women can be very insensitive. And so they make the pressure even more profound.
Yeah.
So they know very well that things are not going like they should, but they keep demanding. They'll be demanding and demanding, and before you know it, you're all over the place. Justice was making the point about isolation and solitude. This stems from a place of our mentality, our mindset. So some of the pressures men go through are things they bring on themselves. So you are certain that you feel like you can solve every issue by yourself. When you have people who you can talk to.
Right.
But because of that mentality, I can do this stoic mentality, this philosopher mentality, because I am supposed to be the provider and the protector. I'm supposed to be the wise one as well. But that's not necessarily the case. So you're housing everything in there and it's not going well. Then you realize that you begin to see the real life effect in real time. There's also the always succeeding mentality. A man feels he has to succeed all the time. I think this comes to the conversation we had previously.
The other time, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that also
Career
brings you some
success,
pressure.
employment, and all of these things.
Exactly. So tying your competence and your value to your job. So you realize that when the job is not going as it should, you feel like you've lost it in life and you're a failure. But that is not necessarily the case. So these are some of the pressures that are bagging men in and out. And Charlie, it's a real thing. You see, we are having conversations like this over and over. And it's a good step. I believe it's a good step. So somebody will sit down someday and then chance on one of these conversations and then get a change of perspective. Right. And then his life goes in a better direction than it is now. So these are some of the pressures we are dealing with.
Right. So you mentioned the financial expectations. Yeah. You also mentioned the marriage one. I mean, being a father, even and all of that. Even as a young man, you know, the employment. I think the conversation we had the other time. Yeah. Family expects that, Charlie, you provide, we've taken care of you. You are in school, support us and all of that. How problematic are these expectations or these pressures on men?
Problematic they are because we are all striving to get to a certain point. We all want to be comfortable. And because of this this nature that we grew up learning, we know that at the point we need to provide. Right. So I was having a conversation with a lady who tells me that she never, so we had a mental health conversation.
Right.
And after that, she was like, oh, she saw glimpses of what we discussed in her brother. So there was a point where the brother had lost a job and the brother had gone silent. Nobody was hearing from him. And it was after the conversation that she was beginning to connect the dots and ask, how was he surviving? How was he eating? How was he feeling? It was now that it was hitting her. So while he was down and was going through all those things, it never made sense to her. Like, nobody cared. She was living her life. Then she tells me, my little brother, all of a sudden, feels like he has to make it and take care of the family.
Yeah.
And so she was trying to connect the dots. And then she realizes that, oh, yes, this is the socialization men have been predisposed to. So a man is sitting down and all he wants to do is, I have to make it and I have to fend for family.
Yeah.
So everybody is sitting down thinking at a certain level, but the guy is thinking at like men are supposed to be thinking at a different level. So if anxiety is supposed to be at 0, a man's anxiety is automatically at 3 because he has to provide. So these will lead to this. They say men we want to get rich quick and all those things. It's not out of the blue. Sometimes the context matters as well. So a family living in maybe a rural area, they've been able to push their child to University of Ghana. He's now done with school. We know the job situation in the country is not looking any good. But he has to provide.
Yeah.
And so what would I do to provide? Because I have to meet them at the point of their need. They keep calling me and telling me all manner of things. I have to do something about it. And what can I do? What else can I do? So they begin to explore some legal, illegal means
to be able to make it. So this burden of this provider syndrome and this burden of finances and all those things, it doesn't help the guys in any way. And exactly that's why the conversation we had prior put some things in check. If you're able to know that there's time for everything, eventually I can gather something to help. It takes a certain burden off your chest. And so you're able to follow the doctrine of process, which we discussed the other time, and then you're able to tailor your life, gauge something, save something reasonable, and then help. As opposed to getting and sending. Eventually you become frustrated, and now you're looking at who can help you. Yeah.
And if you become the provider and you are exhausted or depleted, it becomes very difficult. So you would want to now resort to maladaptive coping mechanisms. So a young guy who is working, trying to fend for the family, is now smoking. Now, when it gets addictive, you now have to be dividing the money. The one goes to family, and the one that you have for yourself, you now invest into the illicit drugs just to also cope. So now, because of that burden of providing, a different mental health situation is popping up all of a sudden. So we need to just relax. So if you're a young man listening, please take your time, relax, settle down, be at that foundational level. When you're able to provide, you give. Buy yourself that time. That is what I argue a lot. Buy yourself that time. If you start work, you're earning something little, tell family, you give me 3 months. Let me just settle. And then I can come. I understand the situation. You have lived like this with me unemployed. So it's not now that I'm employed that you will die. You can still go some 2 or 3 months. So just let me stabilize, and then we can come in hard, so everybody's mental health is in check.
Now you're sounding like it's an easy thing.
Oh, I know it's not easy. That's why I'm being passionate about
it. Yeah. It's not an easy thing at all. I know that a lot of the men are actually struggling. You know, I know a few people that I know that are struggling very, very much, and sometimes I see them and I know that Charlie, this guy they go through but Charlie for show up, say everything they cool, the smiles. The social media post and all of that.
The mask we wear.
But of course, that comes to the loneliness thing as well.
Right.
And let me bring in Justice. Now, Justice, you were speaking about loneliness as one of the things that, or the hideouts. You know, there's a loneliness crisis among men. Why is it that, you know, men have a lot of friends? You see everybody, yo, Charlie Chairman, bro, yo, you know, Charlie everything, yo, you know. But why is it that despite all of these things, we have few people we can truly confide in? Justice.
Okay. All right. So one of the key things has to do with trust. It's not easy finding someone you can trust your emotions with. It's not easy finding someone you can trust the things that you are actually going through with. And in fact, that is why mentors are very important when it comes to the development of a man. If you cannot find yourself someone you can be vulnerable to, someone you can be accountable to, it becomes a very difficult thing for you to realize that you can be able to sail through your problems. You see, because the goal actually of mentorship is to help you easily maneuver your way through certain challenges and certain problems that we face. So aside trust, there is also a condition that actually puts a man in that state. For example, depression. One aspect of depression is that the person begins to feel that I am a bother to people. Oh, I want to worry myself with people's problem. They are also having their own issues that they can handle, and they are also going through. So let me find a way I can be able to deal with my issue. But you see, vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is actually the gateway to strength. Until we come to that place where we understand that there are issues in our lives that we cannot handle. In fact, I sometimes say this: everybody needs somebody. We were not created to be isolated. We were not created to even love isolation in the first place. So until we come to that point where we understand that there are solutions to the various problems that we face, and these solutions do not always come from us, they also need to come from others. So if we are able to come to that point where we can take off the marks of feeling that you will be judged. And in fact, I think sometimes men, let me just try to play the devil's advocate. Some people are not able to call for help because they called for help in certain spaces and in certain places, and they were judged and they were misunderstood and they were, written off.
Yeah.
And so they lose actually the courage to call for help. So if there's somebody actually listening to us today, or somebody actually seeing us today, I just want to encourage the person that whoever made you feel judged, or whoever wrote off your weakness, or maybe the failures that you were experiencing, is not equal to every other helper that we face, even if they are in the same family. In fact, even if they are twins, and maybe the older or the younger one treated you that way, doesn't mean that the other person is actually going to treat you the other way. And so practically, these are the reasons why men will find it very difficult to, want to open up and discuss their issues, aside the issue of trust and aside the issue of depression, which actually puts them in that mode. That could also be the major reason why these things are actually happening. The other part of it is that respect. Sometimes they say, oh, men are moved by what they see. Actually, it's not entirely true. Men are moved by what they hear too. So if they sense, because men are more egoistic compared to women, we love our ego. So if you say anything that bruises our ego without necessarily having a respect or a sense of respect for the things that we have gone through, there is a likelihood that a man will not want to open up rather than choose to handle his issues. So that could also be a reason why men will not want to call for help.
Right. I see. You want to add something to it?
Oh yeah, so I enjoy having conversations with my fellow guys. So I have a circle of guys, right? And I don't mind the ages, right? So I think one time I sat down and I was analyzing how many older friends do I have compared to the younger people ones. I have. Yeah. So honestly, when it comes to communication, right, I feel like we all need to normalize being conversational about anything bothering us. A problem shared is half solved. I don't mind a GHS graduate, an SHS graduate. So when you're having a conversation with me, I can easily tell you what is going through, like what I'm going through as well. Like, you see, this is what...
Oh, you are very free like that.
Yeah. So if all men can be free, it will take a lot of anxiety and depression of you. Because one of the principal causes of depression, like Justice highlighted, is you feeling your issues are your issues will overwhelm the other person. And so you'd rather keep it. Now, if your issues obviously are issues, so they are going to be negative. So if you keep ruminating over them, it means you are going to be hiding to continue pondering over them. And before you know it, you are thinking about negative things. You can have a conversation with a little boy. He'll tell you, oh no, I don't think that is the case. It opens you to a different reality. One thing I've come to realize too is people with mental health issues, when stress becomes chronic, your worldview narrows. So you don't visualize things clearly.
How so?
So, for example, I think we have mentioned the year before, when chronic stress builds, cortisol is high. Elevated amounts of cortisol interrupts with judgment and decision making, sound decision making. So when cortisol is high and you don't have a sound mind to make decisions, you may be thinking things that are off, but to you that is the reality. That is fine. So a little can tell you, oh no, that is not the case, and you go like, what do you mean? So as the child begins to explain, you begin to open a new, you begin to see things even better in a different way, yes, and then you can relate to it from there. So I leverage on this guy-to-guy conversations a lot because I feel like the fastest way to be vulnerable as a man is to your fellow man, because what you are going through, he may also be going through. I think I shared a story of my brother. I went into a wrong investment, told my brother about it, and personally, I was bashing myself for what I had done. I spoke to him and he tells me, you know what, I get you, I've been here, it will get better. That was all he said. All of a sudden, like whatever it is I was feeling just disappeared.
Right.
And I was like, it's like the restart, I was refreshed. As like a computer, I just refreshed a computer and then I was back again to normal. Wow. So we can leverage on these things. Guys have a lot of friends, Charlie. I shouldn't end there. He mentioned at least one trusted person that you can be vulnerable to. If it's mutual, it's even better. So you can be vulnerable to me, I can be vulnerable to you. You can be accountable to me, I can be accountable to you. It's like a best man sort of vibe. We all need that one person. And it goes a long way to help our mental health here.
All right, so let me just announce the lines in case anybody wants to join the conversation this morning. Well, if you just tune in, this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. And this morning we're talking about the cost of being a man. My guest, Stanislas Nyako, he's a mental health advocate, and also Justice Ejay Oklu, he's also a mental health advocate. These are the two individuals joining me this morning we're having this conversation this morning. And you are free to join us. Send us a WhatsApp on 0544-321019, 0544-321019. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to send us your WhatsApp message and we'll read them for you here. Also, you can call us on that same number or call us on 03039566641, 03039566641. Would love to hear from you as well. And you can drop a comment under our live stream. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please feel free to drop a comment and I'll read that for you as well. All right, gentlemen, let's continue the conversation. Now, we're going to talk about some of the solutions. I know that the problems men go through are a lot. If you want to go through problems, we'll go through them and go around in circles for a very long time. Let's look at the consequences so that people can understand what the consequences are. If somebody is suppressing their emotions, what exactly is happening in them mentally? And let me come to Justice.
I was thinking you go to Stan. All right. So when it comes to, for example, in the cases that we see as psychologists, right? When it comes to some cases, for example, in relation to depression or anxiety, sometimes when we run our assessments, we actually come to understand that there are histories of trauma. And these trauma actually led to certain emotional issues that these men are actually facing. You know, most of the times when we talk about abuse, we only tune our mind towards sexual abuse. And even if we talk about sexual abuse, it's tilted towards the girl child. But there are some of the cases we have seen, we've come to realize that 10 out of, let's say 4 out of 10 men have actually had an experience with being abused sexually. And some of these things that happened were bottled in and they kept it. And they didn't discuss it with anybody because they would have been seen as, oh, you are a bad boy. Oh, if you didn't go there, this wouldn't have happened, right? And some of these issues actually happen, and these men suppress it. And as they grow up as adults, or as they grow up as, some quote unquote big men, they happen to have issues in relation to their sexual health and their sexual life, because they are trying to heal from those experiences. So there's a lot of danger to a young man or to a growing man who harbors a lot of emotional issues and doesn't want to share it. The issue about it is that I sometimes practically say that a wounded lion is more, depending on where the wound is more dangerous than a lion that is not wounded. You can relate that to maybe a scorpion, to a snake, or to maybe a dangerous animal. The issue about it is that their wounds is actually giving them a level of strength to actually go ahead and then hurt other people. So that is one of the danger. Keeping your emotions without necessarily calling for help to see how best you can resolve it. Keeping your emotions without necessarily, say, oh, my mind has a way of dealing with my emotions, I will just forget about it. We don't just forget about things, especially in our field. You don't just forget about things. You need to process certain things. For example, grief. Someone will lose a parent and say, oh, okay, my parent is I've lost a parent, so let me just move on with the issue. And they move on. And at the end of the day, they are not able to track why certain emotional issues are coming up, like depression, why they will have spontaneous outbursts. I mean, we've had cases like that where people just all of a sudden, they begin to recount certain experiences and they begin to cry. They begin to have all kinds of issues. It's simply because they didn't allow themselves go through a certain season successfully. For example, again, still under grief, when the individual doesn't go through the grief stages successfully, the individual loses touch with himself. And sometimes they change from the people that we knew them to be. Some of them end up, having, substance abuse issues. Others might end up even losing touch with reality. And so they begin to have a lot of issues in relation to concentration. They begin to have a lot of issues in relation to productivity and efficiency, even at work, and even personal hygiene. So yes, this is a little thing I can say in reference to
Stan, do you have anything
yeah.
All right, Stan, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, when you add that, you can also tell us some of the warning signs. What are things that people, friends and family can look at and know that this person is going to a particular direction, harboring something that they need help with?
Okay. So when it comes to men, when we harbor things within, it also has physical, it affects your physical health. Okay, so we talk of the strokes, we talk of the cardiovascular accidents, the heart attacks. We also have some forms of dementia comes into the picture. So some of these conditions that are supposed to hit people late in life. For example, dementia is supposed to start at an onset of maybe 70, 65 thereabout. You may have history of young people suffering dementia as well. And so when men are taught to suppress their emotions, which is actually the case in our place, it doesn't help them. They don't stop processing the emotions unknown to them. So they feel like when I suppress the emotions, then it goes away. But they continue pondering over the emotions. And now because you have not resolved it, like Justice was talking about, unprocessed and unresolved pain does not disappear. It will accumulate and resurface in different ways. So people have had manifestations where they tell you they are unable to sleep. They can't sleep well. Some people will tell you they have this pain in their back. They have this pain somewhere. They go to check up and the doctor tells them there's nothing wrong with them and so on and so forth. So looking at warning signs, what are some of the things that you can look out for when a guy is going through a difficult patch and he's not being conversational about it? I think the behavioral part has been highlighted. The withdrawal side, isolation side has been highlighted. The next thing is, normally in guys, when anxiety and depression is in the fray, it is covered up, or it is expressed as agitation. And yes, they are very agitated, and then they are very angered. So anger is very transient. The least thing that happens, there's this expression of anger. So if you don't take care, you may look at the anger and do not know that's the underlying symptoms. So when you realize that a friend, a boyfriend, a husband, depending on where you sit, it has changed, all of a sudden has changed and is getting more angry, then you should know that he has
something.
Yeah, he's bottled up a lot and is now exploding.
Right.
Especially when you analyze the content of the conversation and you realize that these are things I am familiar with and they are coming out. So, for example, you've been doing something and then he's been saying it's okay. You know these things are things that gets him pissed, but he's let it slide and then he's come back to them again. It tells you that this person was not being real with what he was saying back in the day. He was actually offended, but he was just letting it slide. But now it's gotten to a point where he's expressing displeasure. So it means that he wasn't happy with it for this while. So that is one of the signs to identify that somebody is housing something that is not being vocal about. The next one is avoidance and silence. So the person is vocal, the person is chatting with you, all of a sudden the person goes quiet. The person is not talking. The person is, so people, we always say fear the quiet ones. And then we say fear the quiet ones because it is better to like say something, let me know what you are dealing with, like the person goes silent. And a guy asked me one time that, so Stan, when I do something to somebody and the person begins to laugh, should I be afraid? Or and I was like, that is even worse than the silent one, because if you offend somebody and the person begins to laugh at you, from my understanding or my evaluation of things, he has so many scenarios in his head playing out, and it doesn't look good for you. Right. That is why he's laughing. So there are people who, in distress, they begin to laugh, and then the laughter is not a good laughter, like it's a scary one. And so you realize that this laughter alone communicates a lot.
Right.
So these are some of the subtle things that you can see to know that guys are going through stuff, and then depending on how it is manifesting, you should know if you should take cover or you should go closer to them and then get them to open up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. So let's try and finalize, wrap up with the solutions so that people who are listening to us and they want to find something to do about their condition to be able to find. I think we scattered some of them already, but let's try and, what would a healthy masculinity look like today?
A healthy masculinity will give you a holistic man. When I say holistic man, it's going to look at a man who is present, a father who is present, a father who is emotionally intelligent, a father who is going to be there for the family.
Right.
So I like to make this analogy when it comes to healthy masculinity. We are told that every household needs a male figure or a father figure in there. It's not by chance, or it's not for just the fun of it. You know that women are the caring type and they may let a lot of things slide. But a man will just come and say, hey, and things will change. So a child may be misbehaving. A man will come and just put in a word and then everything stabilizes. Now that is very important, especially in the formative years of kids. So if a kid is misbehaving, and there is no correction, the child will go along with that. The child will normalize that and learn that, okay, I can do things without consequences. So, but if there's a father figure in there and he corrects the child in the formative years, the child learns that, oh, okay, there is an authority that is beyond me, and so I can't cross it. So they learn to remain in their zone. Now, healthy masculinity puts a man in a situation where he's able to reciprocate emotions, is able to check behaviors because he is mentally sound and he's able to be present. Right. So he will check the kids in that state and they learn adaptive ways of growing. Now, when we switch to the flip side, a man who is overwhelmed himself, who is going through the anxiety and is screaming at people, teaches the child to mirror what he is presenting. And so now that man is mentally unhealthy, the kids are also learning from him in their formative years. So now they grow up with that trauma that Justice spoke about, and now they are not able to relate well with people in society, and it makes them mentally unhealthy. So healthy masculinity gives you it presents you with a father figure who is present, who understands, who is emotionally aware, and who is mindful of what the kids are doing, and he puts in words in times that will just correct them for life. Right. So healthy masculinity promotes better family outcomes and then healthier kids. Yeah.
All right. That's great. Let me wrap up. Or let me come to you, Justice. Maybe touch on a few things. You spoke early on about the fact that we are not raising boys as we should. What should parents start doing, or what should they stop doing?
I like when you said what should this. I remember I was giving a presentation and I said to them that most of the times we have to-do lists, but we don't have not to-do lists. Okay, so first of all, parents must begin to understand that as much as the girl child has weaknesses, so does the man. In fact, first of all, it just begins from the fact that we are first humans. And in our humanity, the weaknesses springs out, right? And so first of all, they should understand. And then they should also understand that their weaknesses is not a sign of how do I even call it? Their weaknesses is not a sign of doesn't have its foundation in their vulnerability, right? Because their vulnerability is actually part of them, and it can actually work out. I will also want to advocate to parents that it will be very, 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 very nice for them to normalize, like Stan said, normalize conversations bordering around their vulnerability. Because in fact, we live in a society where men cannot show or express any form of weakness based on whatever things that they are actually going through. And so they do not even have the opportunity to even, in the first place, have the safe space which they can have in a therapy session with a psychologist, but they do not actually have that because in the first place it is not being created. So they do not even have the opportunity to pour out the things that they are actually going through or they are dealing with. And so safe space should be created. They should normalize the conversation that borders around the various mental health issues that man has growing up. They should also get in touch with the various kinds of psychologists we have around, just have your boy child, or it might not necessarily be a boy child, it might just be adults like us, having a psychologist as a friend, not necessarily as someone that you go and then have a session with. I have a number of people who are not necessarily my clients, but they are more like friends because of my field as a psychologist. So they have the opportunity to ask me all kinds of questions. Psychologists are your friends.
Right.
They might not necessarily run a therapy or a session for you, but one or two conversations with them could bring some form of enlightenment or a form of understanding to whatever we are going through. The last thing I also want to say is that information, we must limit ourselves from negative information. In fact, most of the times, the things that we hear go a very long way to influence our behaviors. And when I say behaviors, I'm more interested in our response to the various problems and our response to the various issues that life throws at us. So we must be very mindful about the information that we expose ourselves to. Parents should also be interested in what their children are exposed to on the social media space. Is it making them becoming a better version of themselves, or is it making them become a worse version of themselves? And so that's the little I can say in reference to parents having an influence on the mental health of children. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's wrap up this way. So if a man is listening right now, Stan, if a man is listening right now and maybe they're struggling silently, what would you want them to hear?
I want men to know that this issue or this culture of man up, men don't cry. And all those things they say, like it is fine, not it is fine, you would figure it out. These things are things of the past. We are moving from a generation of men handling everything alone to a generation where men are becoming emotionally intelligent and are realizing that they are realizing the difficulties and then the situation, the issues that keeping quiet is causing to us. We mentioned a few. Your silence now can give you a stroke in the future. Your silence now can give you a brain tumor in the future. Your silence now can give you a heart attack. So there is no being quiet and solving things alone does not do you any good. So please try to share your struggles. Try to talk to somebody. If not anybody at all, just one trusted person. If you won't find any trusted person in your circle, visit the nearest hospital, look for a therapist and have a frank conversation with. We can go a long way by having one conversation at a time. And the depression, the anxiety will run away and our mental health will be better than it has ever been. Yep.
Thank you very much, Stan. Justice, maybe your final words as well. What do you want to say to anybody listening to us who is struggling silently? A man, specifically.
I would say that it is normal for any man to go through whatever challenge it is. And I intend to say whatever challenge it is because life comes with its own surprises. Some are good, some are bad. And the other part of it is that I want to also encourage that when we have the opportunity to enjoy ourselves, we should do so. You know, when you have the opportunity to go to recreational facilities just to cool off, when you go, give it your best attention, give it your best self so you can be able to experience whatever you're experiencing. To every man out there, please have someone that you can open up to. It might not necessarily always have to do with a psychologist. Then you should also normalize seeing a mental health advocate or a psychologist, whoever it is. I finally end with this statement. Like we always say, situations in themselves do not lead us to depression, anxiety, and stress. It is our interpretation or the meaning we give to these events or to these issues of life. Like Stan said, he went into an investment and the investment didn't go very well. But he had a conversation with his brother. His brother gave him a different perspective to that, failed investment. And he became very fine. So I suggest that I will encourage that we should find good interpretations to the various issues that we face. Absolutely. In fact, whatever is lost is not equal to all is lost, no matter what it is. It is all lost when you are dead. But so far as you are living, not everything is entirely lost.
I wanted to use let me just use it anyway. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stanislas Nyako. Thank you so much for coming. And thanks so much, Justice Ejioklu. Thank you all for coming this morning. I'm really grateful. I think it's been a very good conversation. And I hope that somebody listening to us this morning has actually picked a thing or two that they are going to apply to their lives. Myself, I've picked the fact that I have to chill. Because Charlie, I don't need to chill. I don't need to chill. I think I have to be doing some... Yeah, it's just to work, church, speaking here, doing this and that. And Charlie, my life is too straightforward. I think I have to chill and I have to be posting memes and things. And I'll try. All right. Anyway, thank you too for listening to us this morning. We're really grateful. That's how we wrap up on the Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitrebi Hammond. Tomorrow is Friday until we're coming back again with a very important conversation. I believe that you don't want to miss it. Please don't go anywhere. Keep listening to Z101.9 FM. My name is Nitrebi Hammond. I'll see you tomorrow. Up next is The Brighter Side with Jeremy Okorie Marco. Stay safe.